You are listening to the Earth Hotel podcast. We shall not cease our exploitations. The end of all our journeys will be to return where we began and know the place for the first time.
Bodies in rooms and keys in walls. Street sign, symbol says hi. Welcome to the Earth Hotel. Home design, modern trend. Sleepy time. At mine. What an old thing like that to wake up and be alive inside the Earth Hotel.
Yes, hello. Welcome back to the Earth Hotel. I'm Jack Cotillard, I'm your host, and I have a dry mouth. One moment. This is episode 10, and this features a friend of mine named Ryan Brown. We talk about UFO experiences that we've had. It came up during an interview on episode 7. He plays in Giant Sunbeam and the Noise, and he said that he had seen things in the sky, and we had that in common. We go back a long ways. We thought we should get together at some point and talk about that. First, I've got dates, things that you should know about. Shane Mouse is a comic. He's doing a comedy tour called A Good Trip, and he talks about various psychedelic experiences that he's had and the benefit that has wrought on his life. This is sponsored by MAPS, Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies. They are a nonprofit research and educational organization, quote, develops medical, legal, and cultural context for people to benefit from the careful uses of psychedelics and marijuana. And currently they are finding success in cooperation with the DEA and the FDA clinical trials for PTSD patients using MDMA with therapists in a contextual setting. Rick Doblin is the head of this organization, and he's been on podcasts like the Joe Rogan Experience talking about this, and it's a very important cause because so many people can be helped, and it's a very obvious place to go to. There are tools. We should use them. So I will put a link in the description for this podcast where you can donate to MAPS. MAPS is sponsoring Shane Mouse's show this Tuesday, the 18th, at the Syndicate Lounge in Birmingham at 10:30. It's a $10 cover. And then the 21st, that is this Friday, I'm going to be at Eclipse Coffee and Books in Montevallo, Alabama, with Dendera Bloodbath and Balcony View. I'm doing an act called Jackie Cotillard's Generica. New stuff, old stuff, cover stuff, my stuff, fun stuff, dance stuff, scary stuff, spooky stuff. Political stuff, not so much. Wartime, citizen unrest stuff, definitely. Directly after that, the 22nd, is the Punk Rock Flea Market being put on at Saturn in Birmingham by a very good friend of mine, Raquel Duplain. This is the third one. They're running seasonally. We're almost to the whole year of it. It's a 2-day Halloween edition event. Day 1 is October 22nd. It's Saturday. It's $5, 11 to 4 o'clock. 3 bands, Future Primitives, Shocks, and Me and My Knife are playing, and there are all kinds of vendors, candles and crafts, patches. There's tons of art and lots of useful things. It's really cool to see a show during the middle of the day, a multi-act rock show in the middle of the day, and then you walk out into like early afternoon. I had a great time. I don't know what else to do today. There's only opportunity ahead of me. So if you want to feel that way, you should come to that. And then day 2 is October 23rd, Sunday. Same deal, $5, 11 to 4 o'clock. The Dirty Lungs from Birmingham, Nowhere Squares, Xenosign, and Alabama Rose. Xenosign is a very cool group. The Femme calendar release that I played last month is put on by Anatomical, who is the lead of Xenosign. She's very active in a lot of things. Find her and send her love. Only love to her. October 29th, not officially Halloween, but the Halloween show, Montevallo Halloweeno at the Playhouse in Montevallo. If you don't know where that is, ask a local, and they'll decide if you're cool. I don't know. Find out where that is in Montevallo, and you're my friend. Come there, and I want to see you. It's 4 bands in one house, and I am one of those bands. I will be doing a show called Jackie Cotillard's Nightly Rage. It's a split-level house, so there will be 2 bands upstairs, staggered with 2 bands downstairs, and then party on all the stairs. That's unsafe. On the bill, Giant Sunbeam and the Noise, you know them from this podcast, and I'm glad I can say that. Schizos, they're an Alabaster band. I can't say that about many people. Alabaster punk band, very, very few people I can say that about. Kick-ass, really punk Alabaster punk bands, there's only one, and that's Schizos. They're going to be there. And then Tiger Beat, a really funky, brutal, lovey, Cronenberg-like growth off the side of, in a good way, Eclipse. It's people from Eclipse, but also people in themselves. It's really great. It's going to be cool. Come see them. Tiger Beat, Giant Sunbeam and the Noise, Schizos, and Jackie Cotillard's Nightly Rage, the 29th for Halloween. And then we'll do Halloween properly on the 31st. I would like to report on the Paint the Town Red show with the Dizzy at the Syndicate. It was a barn burner. Everyone had a good time. We had maybe 40 people, lots of our friends, people that I didn't know, which was cool. Not just all the friends that we've met before that show up graciously and are continually amazingly enthusiastic about our music. We continue to be enthusiastic about our music, the Dizzy, but, you know, it's encouraging, all that. And when I meet 4 or 5 people that I've never met before that know somebody that came on their own accord, like weren't dragged there or anything, that's very surprising, and I love that. We had posters, refreshments, Giant Sunbeam and the Noise impressed everybody. Our comic unfortunately couldn't make it, but he'll be at future events. And he was replaced last minute by a very talented DJ named Passport, called Passport, I suppose. We got some good footage. We did a good show. We debuted Confused as Hell, which you can find on Facebook. If you look up The Dizzy Band, facebook.com/The Dizzy Band, you can find a video of us playing Confused as Hell at that show. We were all wearing matching colors, kind of, and it was cute. And we pre-sold 4 albums, so now we're down to 96 copies of the album, which are constructed and sitting. There are CDs in them, but they don't have sound on them. Sound is almost there. It's like 75% there. We have a day and a half booked in the studio. The half day is to do overdubs and the day is to mix. And it's right there. And unfortunately, due to tragedy on all fronts, we couldn't do it yet, but middle of the November month is when that's going to happen. In the meantime, you can order one of the remaining 96 copies of this very special vinyl release on theearthhotel.org. You can go to STORE on my page. It's $5 for pre-order, which makes the final price of the CD package vinyl thing $15 as opposed to $20. If people buy it outright, it'll be $20. You know the deal. This very special edition contains, I'm trying not to use advertisement language. This thing has the vinyl on CD or the CD on vinyl, depends how you look at it. It's a CD. You play the CD, the music comes on the CD. You get the lost teleplay of the Doomed, wrapped in plastic production in 10 parts, a glossy, glamorous headshot of the band, and you get one of 3 different buttons that we're going to make. We'll sell those separately, but they're included in the package. You'll get a poster if you order online, if you order through this. If we don't sell it directly to you at the show and you go through the trouble of getting it shipped to you or what have you, you get a poster with it. Mainly because we offer opportunities to buy posters at the shows that we don't online, so that's a thing. And then a wall hanger device for the vinyl cover, so you can take the CD off the cover and then put the cover on the wall, and it's a whole thing, and it's wrapped in plastic, and it's really great. Okay, buy it. We spent good money on this record,
and we put a lot of heart and soul into it, and we would just, gosh, really love people to hear it and for us to break even. All right, so outstanding price point on that.
We're going to move on to a more lucid time in my life. Surprisingly, considering the subject, though I wish to not disparage any talk of things that we don't understand just because we don't understand them. I sat down with Ryan Brown a couple of days ago to talk about our shared UFO experiences. We did not share their experiences, but we shared this conversation, and it brought good laughs and a lot of insight and a general consensus of, I don't know what's going on, but I'm glad we can talk about it, and that's the point. So enjoy this conversation, and the music to follow, and the music to follow, and the personal anecdotes to follow that, and the interesting word experiments to follow that. Join me on this trip. This is the Earth Hotel. So this is Ryan Brown from Giant Sunbeam of the Noise.
Hello.
Or just being a person. He's known for that.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about UFO stuff.
Yeah.
To preface this, we're not making claims about what these things are. It's more like this exists.
I saw it.
Yeah, this is a thing that is real. It's a thing that happened, but
Yes.
we don't have enough detail to speculate as to what it is. But that's the whole point of UFO, is that it's not identified. But
Yeah.
you say UFO and people go aliens.
Aliens.
Oh.
Yeah.
So what was your experience?
So I saw, it's not terribly exciting. I went outside and I saw there was just a small object that was visible. It was at night. It obviously wasn't a plane.
Mhm.
It didn't have any like flashing lights or anything.
No lights at all?
No, yeah.
Just a black kind of
Just
void
an object. Yeah, right. You know, like when you live in a place for an amount of time, you notice flight patterns. Like there's only 2 directions that planes fly. It was almost like it was going in to land somewhere. It was like a strange trajectory. Yeah, it was very strange. It looked like, I'm saying this with like zero knowledge of planes, but it looked like it wasn't like planes, you know, they fly level to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like it was kind of free from having to have that reference.
So like when a helicopter takes off, it tilts
Yeah.
off its horizontal
It
axis.
was,
kind of thing? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, kind of. Like, it was just at a weird angle.
What time was this?
This was like at 10:30 at night a couple weeks ago.
At your house?
Yeah. So I was just like out front in a cul-de-sac,
Mhm.
and I just kind of like looked up. I was taking the trash out or something.
Looked
Yeah.
up like away from the house?
Yeah, like towards Alabaster.
Not towards Shelby County Airport, which is
Right. No.
the other direction.
Right, exactly. It was, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How big? I mean, I know you can't really
I
estimate.
mean,
but-
it was like if it was as high as like jetliners fly, it was as big as a jetliner.
Okay. So it was just a bit like dark enough to be seen against the night sky.
Right.
Clear
exactly.
night, cloudy
Yeah.
night.
Yeah. No, it was clear. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard reports like that of like blacker than black craft.
Ooh.
So like that, like so dark.
Yeah.
The sky is brighter than it.
That's
so
wild.
you can tell
Yeah.
even at night.
Where it
It's
is.
not the first time I've heard that.
Yeah. Someone
Yeah.
said that it was like a stealth plane, which is more frightening to me than aliens.
Yeah, I can't see any reason why that would be.
Yeah, like
That's what makes me kind of second guess the argument of like, oh, they're like super secret military planes or drones or whatever. It's like,
over Birmingham, Alabama.
why would you ever send when you have miles and miles of desert,
Yeah.
empty land and government land? Now, I mean, I understand if it was
It was like spying on something.
right,
like
if it
doing
was
its thing.
if it had a purpose, but you're not just going to fly experimental aircraft over a highly populated area where everyone could
Just
see
for
it
shits and giggles.
and it could possibly
Yeah.
be lost and go down and be recovered by someone that's
Yeah.
not. Yeah. Who benefits
Right.
from that?
Yeah.
So like 9/11, obviously no one made any money off of that.
Well,
So, my experience that I brought up to you was over in Fox Valley. It's part suburb, part farmland.
Yeah.
with fairly well-traveled like county roads, state roads. I crested the hill by the water tank.
Mhm.
I went up this hill. There's a big hill and then it goes down a little bit and there's like another
Little-
second higher crest.
okay.
And when I went over that second hill, I looked up to the tree line and
Right.
I saw like all the street lights were that amber, orange kind
Yeah.
of halogen.
Yeah, yeah.
So I saw all of those and I saw them in the distance. And then right above the tree line, I saw this really bright group of white lights.
Oh.
And it was
Oh.
I've driven that so many times that I was like, that's not supposed to be there.
Right.
Like that.
Yeah.
I know that I'm seeing something, but it was only like a 4 or 5 second. I couldn't count the lights. It was like right before you get to Hoover on 65, it starts the different kind of lamps where there's like a stack and then
Yes.
another stack and they're all white,
Right.
kind of in a
It
cluster.
was like that.
It was like that on two tiers. So one
Really?
was slightly
But it was
higher
looking
than-
at you.
I don't know what it was doing. It seemed to be fairly large,
Yeah.
bigger than a car, but
Mhm.
off on the tree line.
Really?
This is maybe a mile away. The tree line is maybe 2 miles away from that hill. Like very bright, sitting on top of the tree line. And then I knew something was up, and I pulled up the voice memo on my. I listened to a lot of. I know what to do. I listened to a lot of Fringe material.
Write down the Pythagorean theorem. And
Yeah. All the equations start flying around my head.
Yeah.
No, I turn on my voice recorder and like mark the time, and it's like I just saw something. I'm gonna go check it out in case whatever. And I go down through the intersection. The hill stops at the bottom by this intersection with a gas station and a longer road that goes back towards where I live.
Yeah.
So I take the intersection and then I take an immediate right into all this farmland, the actual Fox Valley proper.
Mhm.
And so you go over this little bridge and you drive maybe 200 yards and then it opens up into, it's all trees, and it opens up into this big field with farmland. Big field on the left, big field on the right, houses back further.
Okay.
And there was nothing there. Totally empty sky, clear night. There was no...
Ugh.
Like once I got back into that area, I stopped and turned the engine off and looked and waited for a little bit. There was no like power plant on the other side of the trees.
Right.
Like there wasn't something back beyond the farmland that could have had all those lights put up. And there was no aura on the horizon. Where
Obviously,
there was
no
light
structure.
further-
Right.
Just empty. And so that was really bizarre. And so I turn around and drive back up the hill and
Yeah.
crest it again, and there's nothing there. And so at that point, I said, okay, that's
All right.
too many confirmations for me to say I didn't see something.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a thing that happened.
Yeah.
Um,
That's wild.
and I'd never seen anything like that before. I've never had like a paranormal experience. I've never had an encounter. I've never seen
Right.
anything like that.
No.
I thought I saw a UFO on July 4th at Panama City, but it was a drone. I've made those mistakes before and like looked into it and was like, that's weird. What is that? I'm gonna go check that out. And then okay, it's a drone.
Right.
I was sitting on the hood of my friend's car outside once, and I was looking at the stars. And if you stare at a star long enough stationary, it starts to move in a little circle because your eyes can't. There's nothing static to hold that star in place. So
That's
if you're
true.
looking just at it, it's going to move a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
But if you do that and you don't know that's a phenomenon, it freaks you the fuck
It's
out.
like, oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the stars aren't
Everything
stars.
is
The
moving.
stars were aliens. There's a war going on with the stars. No, it becomes like a whole thing. I've had false calls before, but I was never like, I saw something, and then had to be like, well, that was a drone. That was never mind. So I try to be skeptical about it, but that was
And you went there twice.
yeah. I
Yeah.
checked every angle that I could think of.
Yeah.
And there's an app that you can pull up that shows you like flight patterns and like what aircraft is in the area.
Yes.
You can look that up on Google too, but there's like an
Yeah.
app made for it.
Uh-huh.
But that was not an aircraft. That was a static house-sized group of lights on the tree line. I had exposed myself to all that information before, so I knew a lot about the phenomenon or like
The do's and don'ts, like the common mistakes.
yeah,
Right,
like
yeah.
you can debunk most things.
Right.
Like most things on YouTube you can debunk.
But
But
yeah.
for every 10 of those, there's one that makes no sense at all. So I like knew to check my time because I'm just dying for crazy shit to happen to me. I've got a recording on my phone. If I lose time, I was like, all right, now it's 11:12. I'm going to go look at this thing. And so I knew what the precaution to take, but obviously didn't get abducted or nothing happened. I didn't see anything after that.
Bummer.
So that was, I know, right?
Yeah.
Come and take me.
Hey.
Was that the only one? I thought you mentioned there was another one that you experienced. Maybe that was,
I think that was somebody else.
has Kirsten seen
I'm
something?
thinking. I don't know.
Okay. I can't remember if she said something or not. When I saw the drone in Panama City, I went and looked up a database just to see what was going on. And it's NUFORC, National UFO Reporting Center. There are tens of thousands of reports, like
That's
check,
crazy.
like so many by state and by date and all this stuff. And so I pulled up a couple, and just for Alabama, there's pages, 800 or more pages and pages of stuff going back through the 90s. And just recently, there's been reports. Of course, these are
That's
just
just stuff that's been reported on this specific website.
right.
Yeah.
Well, this is like one of the largest databases for it, and they have people research and check it. These are just reports from people that saw things that reported it, and so these can't be trusted.
But there are a lot of them.
They can't be trusted outright, but I'm not denying anybody's experience because that's how this kind of thing gets ignored. People get hung up. It's like, well, we don't know what it is. It's not, it could be aliens. It could be government, whatever. It could be whatever, but that doesn't make it not happen
Exactly.
all the time.
You're
Like,
right.
every 3 minutes, I think the statistic is every 3 minutes across the world, somebody sees something.
Really?
And I'm sure a lot of
I
those
believe that.
nobody talks about.
No.
You know,
Yeah.
nobody wants to be, judged, or like people have jobs, careers, whatever. We don't have those things.
Hell no, sign me up.
We've only got like 40 years left on this trip, so let's talk about it.
Let's do it.
I looked up some local Alabama stuff. Here's one from Montevallo. January 29th, 6:43 on Spring Creek Road. We were headed towards west when I looked into the sky and saw at first one light that seemed between the colors of yellow and orange that soon disappeared, and then 3 more appeared in consecutive order perfectly one after another. Those all turned off, and another appeared right under where the first one appeared. Then that one disappeared, and the last one appeared where it first began, and they all disappeared. So like lights that split up and duplicate and are
Go back.
split and like just, yeah.
Yeah.
Weird lights in the sky. Here's one from Hoover, July 15th. Around 10:45 near Ross Bridge, a group of 8 twinkling red and white lights flew a grid pattern over Ross Bridge Parkway.
Oh.
That's a 20-minute duration. And then Alabama, there are a lot of fire-like lights around here. This is December 2013 in Alabaster. 3 balls of fire-like lights rotating counterclockwise, 20 to 30 feet in diameter, elevation 200 or 300 feet in Alabaster, Alabama. After work on the way home, I saw 3 balls of light red, yellow, orange, rotating counterclockwise, flying about 200 to 300 feet high, going in a northwest direction with no sound. So these are just 3 fairly local. A lot of Hoover, a lot of Birmingham, a lot of stuff that happens over the interstate. That's nuforc.org. Alabama, 958 reports. And that's not even of all kinds of different shapes and, cigar-shaped craft, crescent-shaped, fireballs, flashes, lights in the sky, pyramids, rectangles, obviously saucer.
All right.
There's all that information
There it
out
is.
there. I watched this documentary today. It's called Australian Skies, like Australian.
Aha!
And it's a documentary about this guy, Damien Knott, and he has had hundreds and hundreds of encounters since he was a child of lights in the sky, various craft of all different kinds.
Really?
He's got one of the biggest collections of photos and videos.
Ooh.
A good point that he makes is there's nothing to be gained from this for reporting
No.
this.
No, right.
There's no fame and there's no money in it. You might get on a talk show, but like he's been followed, people have been followed. He's got lots of footage of black helicopters showing up over his house and like staying there for 45 minutes or whatever,
Really?
filming him. Like, there's all kinds of.
Oh no.
He's had his house broken into, and like hard drives go missing, and like people intimidate him, and like
Whoa.
all this stuff.
Shit.
But yeah, so
That's bad.
they follow him around Australia, basically Queensland, and go on what do they call it, sky watching
Yeah.
sessions with him. And he says he gets this feeling of like being watched, this eerie, like high strangeness feeling, and then he just goes outside, pulls out a cam. He's got all these cameras prepared,
Yeah.
and he goes out and
Starts filming.
you know,
And he finds something.
regularly, almost all, you know, every time he goes
Wow.
out, he gets that feeling and goes outside, there's something there. So there's some kind of connection.
He's got-
or
yeah.
something there.
Yeah.
There's all this thing. Go watch it. It's called Australian Skies, and it's on Netflix. And that's where I heard about the pseudo stars, because he talked about that. I saw a couple of reports on that site of just stars that will just disappear.
Really? They're just not there
They're
anymore.
not there anymore, which is obviously different than the little moving optical illusion thing.
Exactly.
And he's taken a lot of lengths to try to duplicate and replicate YouTube videos, various ways you could forge this stuff.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I think there's a lot of evidence for extraterrestrial life, and I think there's a lot of evidence that it's here. There's still a lot of question about like what capacity. I think, you know, bits and pieces of all of them are plausible, but I haven't made up my mind as to.
Yeah, you really.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Between the human forces that work on the planet and what we don't know about the planet itself, I mean, I would hazard a guess that it's just as likely that this has been here as long as there has been here.
Right.
And this is just something that I don't know.
Yeah.
Because this goes modern documentation, and especially like more sightings in the last 3 or 4 years than are on record
Really?
for as long as we've recorded UFO sightings.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you don't know if that's because more people are reporting it or because we have the ease of communication and sharing
Right,
information
yeah.
and all that. But
Or it's the taboo is lifted.
right, more people can talk about it, or circumstances have changed. I mean, there was a lot of, supposedly there was a very heightened activity during the Cold War. Post nuclear weapons, there's a lot more attention
To the skies.
to
UFOs.
yeah, but there's been a lot activity jumps. Like Fukushima
Yeah.
brought out hundreds of reports that
Really?
it brought out a spike in sightings and all that stuff. So all this,
That's interesting.
there are all these different angles to it, but if you can't talk about it openly and legitimately and respectfully compare notes on things,
Right.
there's no
Right. Then
yeah,
you can't make it a science.
yeah,
You can't draw conclusions.
especially when all the science is saying that's impossible,
Right. Yeah.
which is absurd.
Yeah.
Let me pull up one of his videos and just show it to you, and then we'll probably close here in just a second. A couple of nights ago, I may have seen something, but I'm not entirely sure.
Mhm.
Do planets or stars sparkle? Because I can never remember. Yeah, stars twinkle because they're so far away they appear only as pinpoints, and it's easy for Earth's atmosphere to disturb that pinpoint light. So it's not the way that we're seeing it, it's the atmosphere between the two. And then planets shine steadily because they're closer to Earth and appear not as pinpoints but tiny disks. If you look at a star through a telescope, it remains a little pinpoint, but the disk of the planet is kind of refracted and diffused. You might see planets twinkling if you spot them low in the sky. That's because in the direction of any horizon, you're looking through more atmosphere than if you look over the head. Okay, so I've seen planets in the sky, and then I've seen stars, obviously.
Right.
And I've seen the twinkling,
Right.
and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
very
yeah.
distinctive.
Yeah.
It's not. It's colorful, but it's not colored.
Overt. Right. Exactly.
So I'll run a fact check on this because I haven't had time to research it yet, all the conditions or whatever, and I got to figure out what day it was. But I looked up that direction, just above that tree line over there, and I saw a larger than average, what looked like to be a twinkling star.
Right.
But it was colored. Like if you see a planet in the sky, it's not white.
Yeah.
white,
Right.
But it's a little colored.
The color of the planet, like red. Or
But this was like different colors. Click,
For
click,
every-
click, 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 click,
Ooh.
click, click, click.
okay.
And that was really bizarre.
Yeah.
And I didn't go in the moment. I was just like, oh, that's cool. That's a twinkling, whatever. And then I saw some of the footage from this documentary of
and it was.
of lights, and it
Ooh.
wasn't as distinct as some of these huge like.
I saw a UFO from a plane one time.
Did you really?
I did.
Okay.
That was the other one. This was sorry, I forgot.
No.
But it was like, yeah, I was like 13. I was flying by myself. I was going from like New Orleans to San Antonio, I think. And there was like this little, like planes fly at the same altitude. And there was this thing that was close enough for me to see that it didn't have wings. It was like a silver bullet.
Huh.
And it was flying. So we were going one direction and it was flying like perpendicular to us, maybe like 1,000 feet below us.
Huh. So a silver bullet, like a cigar-shaped, long,
Yeah.
kind of thin thing?
Yeah.
Huh.
I was like, oh, there we go. There it
yeah.
is.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't... Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
like, what is that?
So viewers, if you have experiences, go on the earthhotel.org and I'll put up a post called sighting documentation or like UFO sighting or whatever experiences. You'll see it, UFO thing.
Or like freefunnelcakes.com.
Yeah. .com. And let me know the experiences you've had. And I'm sure at some point my dice will tell me to have a viewer mail segment. And so I'll check back on this and fact check my colored light sighting. Because it could have been whatever.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
But
But it was very weird.
Yeah.
It was very strange.
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, you got anything to add?
The only thing that I'm like adamant about is someone else has been on the moon.
Someone else is in like another nation?
Something.
Okay.
There are machines on the moon. NASA took a bunch of pictures, but there's this documentary that was on like, you know, it was like a made for TV documentary. So they basically just like repeated the same things for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
But the stuff that they had was wild. It was like mining machines. Like there were photos of the moon and there were like tracks of a giant something.
Huh.
Like it had moved. It was there. It was in a place and then it was in another place.
Weird.
And there are like photos of something that looks like a mile in diameter satellite dish and like a nuclear cooling tower.
Huh.
Like what they made it out to be was like the moon has, they didn't say there were aliens in the moon. They didn't say it was like a spaceship, but they said it looked like there was like a mining operation for nuclear material.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of people watching the sky
Yeah.
for various things, but then again, I haven't been there.
Right.
You know what I mean? I can't.
And like Buzz Aldrin, like there's an interview with him.
There's so many astronauts that have come out and said weird shit.
Yeah. Yes.
Weird, cryptic.
Yes,
bizarre
yes.
things.
Like people are watching, but I can't say anything about it. And you know, do your homework. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Elon. Yeah, there's been plenty of there's only so much information that you can get before you have to admit there's a phenomenon.
yeah,
Yeah, but there's
Yeah.
the fact that has to be pushed so hard that this exists and we don't know what it is or
Yeah.
what these things are that might
Yeah.
be completely unrelated or whatever.
right. Yeah, and I've noticed it's treated as like when it makes it to the news, it's always like an individual thing. It's not like this is a 3,000-year pattern. You know,
Right. It's an interest
It's
piece.
received right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's interesting. It's in the popular consciousness, but it's not accepted as the part of the way the world is.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
Or I don't know. I don't know everybody.
No. Yeah.
I'm curious.
Absolutely. I'm
you know.
realizing right now as as we're talking. But yeah, it's just like, oh, what are you going to do? And every time you get reminded of it, it's like, oh, wow, that's weird. You know,
Yeah.
it's not.
Or you just get all of our friends that are just like, well, fuck, that's crazy. I don't know what to make of that.
Yeah.
But I'm freaked out. How about you? I'm freaked out too. All right. We're all just as scared
Let's
as we
go
were
get
before.
a beer.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
So I'm not that important. I understand. But I see like articles on Facebook, especially during the pipeline, all of the stuff that's been going on the last couple. That was a big story that every bit of coverage I saw on it
Mhm.
was half the article was like, nobody's reporting on this. Why is no one reporting on
Right,
this story that
exactly.
I'm currently reporting on?
Right.
The media,
The
media is not
media.
reporting this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's very weird because if you're making media, then
Yeah.
you're the media. As
Yeah.
Jello Biafra said,
Yes.
don't hate the media, become the media.
Words to live by.
Yeah.
And that's why we're doing so well, I think. With
who?
it, just the world, like we have information instantly because we don't have to rely on someone that gets their living from it to see a video of injustice,
Right. Yeah.
Nice.
Everybody can make that happen for almost no money, and
it's in their best interest.
and it's meant to be
yeah.
not only just shared but interactive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And man, we've just lost the plot so much in that interaction. I mean, just like we said, more people are arguing on whether or not UFOs exist than what they might be or how we can approach this
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
So one day Bay says to you, you're in a belief system, right? Like it's okay, but you got to know that you're in a belief system.
I think we're on the right track, though. I think as far as human scheduling goes, we're doing pretty well. We've only had radio for what, like 100-something years, if
Yeah.
that, and that was only like sponsored radio. You had to have ads, and then we had TV. We went from people on horseback delivering information to illiterate people to 20 years since the internet has been accessible to a large amount of people, and it's becoming more accessible every day. And the world seems like it's getting worse because we're just seeing everything that's happening. Statistics wise, everything is getting better, like crime and disease and death rates and life expectancy. That's all getting, way, way better.
Yeah. But you're not supposed to get the bad news of the entire world all at once.
Exactly.
All the time.
Right. Yeah. And so, I think we've, the people have been trying to do good for a long time. And now the people that, now we have a platform to tell everybody about the problems. And that used to be the hard part. And now it's instant. Now it's that simple. Then the hard part is convincing people to get off their asses and do something about it. And I think we're moving along.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it is convincing people that something can be done, period.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Protestant Reformation was the 1500s. So people couldn't even read the Bible in their own language until that point, which just that should really tell you something right there. that was only 600 years ago, and people think they know what everything's about. Okay, so Marconi demonstrated and marketed the first successful long-distance wireless telegraph, and in 1901 broadcast the first transatlantic radio signal. Wow. So that's we haven't even had that. We've had that for just over 100 years, radio. WRGB claims to be the world's oldest television station, tracing its roots to an experimental station founded on January 13th, 1928.
Just an image.
Just for 2 hours. The image of Felix the cat doll rotating on a turntable was broadcast for 2 hours every day for several years as new technology was being tested by the engineers. So it wasn't really until the 40s that it was like a thing that people were really into. And even then we were still going to the movies to get our news.
Right.
Yeah. You sat in a movie theater and you watched the staged Marines landing on the beach. None of that was real. None of that footage, none of the World War II footage. I mean, obviously World War II footage is real, but the newsreels that you saw, our boys are storming the beach and you could see us. No, it's eight schmucks walking up a beach with nothing happening. They're just running and looking for a
Here we go. Yeah.
And then cut to
I'm running
30 years later, and then Vietnam's on TV. Yeah. And then you go 20 years later and the Gulf War's on TV, like the Super Bowl. And then you go 20 years after that and we don't get there's massive propaganda.
That's true.
Distributed by the CIA. As for, did you hear about that?
No.
Apparently, Pentagon paid PR firm $540 million to make fake terrorist videos.
Holy shit.
This is RT.
Oh, wow.
But you can find this all over the place.
That's legit, yeah.
The firm created television ads showing Al-Qaeda in a negative light, as well as creating content to look as though it had come from Arabic TV. Crews were sent out to film bombings with low-quality video. The firm would then edit it to make it look like news footage. Not to say that Al-Qaeda wasn't already a steaming shitbag before that propaganda.
They did them dirty.
But
that's...
The firm also created fake Al-Qaeda propaganda videos, which were then planted by the military in homes they raided.
Wow.
Yeah. So they'd bust up a house and then drop this DVD in wherever.
To justify...
And those DVDs would have Google codes embedded in them so you could see so the Pentagon could go back and see where they were played.
Wow.
Right. And so this was done all throughout Iraq.
Oh my God.
So
I believe that. That's crazy.
Because part of the reason Vietnam was so publicly deridden,
despised,
was because it was on TV every night and you're watching
and we don't have any footage of Iraq or Afghanistan.
I mean, it's there.
But I don't see it.
You just have to look at the difference between the 10 seconds of guys in turbans running with guns and then our soldiers busting in a door and running in there and doing shit that you see on the news with the collateral damage video that came out a couple years ago. Was that Manning that released that? But so our communication has improved greatly, but there's so much more to be sifted through.
Exactly.
And we have to be so much more prudent. So we are the media. That's the whole point. That's why I wanted to have you on to talk about this, because I have no stake. We got 40 years to do what we're going to do here. So I just wanted that to happen. So thanks.
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah.
I want to come back.
Thanks, Ryan.
This song is called This Constitution Albatross. It's directed at the 1% of the world that's rich, supposedly, allegedly, and the world leaders. Hey, world leaders. It's me.
This man requires registration. You have that power, please. Tell me how much it might cost me for his release. Whoa, 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 whoa. We don't want to have to bring in the supervisors. No one has to know about your submissive's cocaine problem. Please grant the citizenship and we'll be on our way, passing through the border into Greece. There will dine upon the fruits of their labor, and we'll see the grass ain't ever quite as green on their side anyway, as we watch the peasants on their spending sprees. We stroll the market, smell the bread, feel the feelings in their head. You know they hate us, but harm is never in our way. Our people keep the freaks at bay. How quaint they are. Oh, you know, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. They have so little, but they love each other so much. They're remarkable people. Look at them. Cast aside your pearly gated concentration. We can't have that clouding up your perfect piranha tank brain. We have got to move this faster. Who is on the call list next? Senators have got the daintiest little necks, don't they? Who is on the comping block? We need information. Rig up the whorehouse mirror. Well, you can guess who's likely to spill the beans with a tie lady boy wrapped around their neck. Pick up the pace. Important people waiting on this legislation. Run it through the houses of the sheep. I spent half my life in a Swedish bank. Got too few fish for my oversized tank. I've got enough ties to hang 100 of myself. There's no buying me in somebody else. This Constitution albatross hangs over our heads. That crumbly document is peeking into our beds when we try to sleep. Remarkably enough, they think we're getting ahead. Call us the 1%, but we're marked men. We're drowning. We've crossed a thing that can't be crossed, and we can't get it out of our heads. It's so fine living in the world on can't see me. It's a fine living in a world on top of the world. Oh, well, you know, it's okay. It's fine. I'm living in the world on top of the world. I hate it. This Constitution albatross hangs over our heads, my friends and me. That crumbly document is peeking into our beds while we try to sleep. Remarkably enough, they think we're getting ahead. Call us the 1%, but we're markmen. We're drowning. We've crossed a thing that can't be crossed, and we can't get it out of our heads. Oh, we can't get it out of our heads.
We would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you meddling founding fathers.
Good night, everybody. We're the Dizzy, and we would like to thank my mom. I'd like to thank Weird Al Yankovic.
Yep, that's them Dizzy boys. They want to let you know that they got a record coming out in November. It's called Wrapped in Plastic. It's got 9 songs on it, and it's going to show you a real good time. So go to theearthhotel.org and pre-order it for $5. It's wrapped in plastic.
And now, recently live from the Syndicate Lounge, confused as hell by the Dizzy.
1, 2, 3, 4. But
I've come to the part of the show where I'm supposed to make personal notes and talk about myself, and that makes me a little bit nervous, and not just because I've been up for about 30 hours now. Tomorrow is Chuck Berry's birthday. I just found that out. I thought that was news. I've been thinking lately about a quote from William Burroughs, as I do. I think I've packed 8 Burroughs references into the past 4 shows. The quote is, "Every man has inside himself a parasitic being who is acting not at all to his advantage." I wonder why people do things that are inherently not good for us. I smoke cigarettes. It's a crazy, crazy habit to have. It serves no function or no direct function. It causes illness, and it is addictive. It's become an odd, metaphysical, weird exercise for me to do. What is a cigarette really? But I have to wonder if it's going to matter, how much time we have left here. A lot of things are shutting down. The bees are depopulating. The Great Barrier Reef was just declared dead, only after several million years of having been alive. I have to wonder about the difference between control and helping oneself along kindly. The difference between discipline administered to oneself in the voice of your parent, perhaps, and the guiding, you can do this differently. All right, step back and look at yourself. What did you do last time? You can do this differently. What is your habit? You can perform different than the habit intentionally, that kind of thing. And my therapist advised me to think about what voices are going on in your thoughts. And this is a good exercise, and I hadn't really tried to identify them before I was told to. Pick them out and see, what was going on. I got a couple. Everyone's got a few internalized voices. But I have to wonder, can the guiding voice turn into the disciplinarian? Or is the disciplinarian there from childhood or whatever? I guess there's a neurotic worry underneath me that says I'm going to think myself out of life. It might not have been me that thought myself out of life. I don't know. I guess my viewpoint recently, I don't really have a personal viewpoint to talk about besides, oh, fuck, I don't know what to make of anything anymore because, I try to have a perspective of possibility. I try to stay open to things on a very practical stay in front of me level. What opportunities am I not taking? How am I limiting myself in this area to try to feed that area? But on a big scale, part of it is the cynic in me. When my innocence went away or whatever, I lost the, wow, you can do anything. You wake up in the morning and say, wow, what can I do today? I don't know how often you get that feeling. I don't remember the feeling since childhood. A lot of my feelings are that way. But at any rate, the idea that we can make anything out of the world, I feel the window is rapidly closing to do that. And if we're going to do it, we have to do it cleverly, en masse, in an organized fashion, and soon. Maybe not save the world stuff, but at least, like Burning Man is a good party to go out with. Let's cause some trouble. Let's not hurt people, but let's cause some trouble on the way out. The beginning quote of the show, "We shall not cease our explorations. The end of all our journeys will be to return where we began and know the place for the first time." And that corrected quotation is T.S. Eliot. I'm going to move on to an experiment that I did a couple of days ago. I've talked about the Cut-Up experiment plenty on this show. I've done a few. The Star Spangled Banner from last week was a cut-up, and I thought that one turned out incredibly dynamic and really interesting. I did an experiment the other day with an entire bookcase. I had several shelves of all of the books that I own, and instead of cutting up a text with a scissor on one piece of paper onto another, one text or two texts together, I chose the whole bookcase. And so in the recording that I'm going to play for you, you can hear book coming off the shelf, flipping it open, me reading it, and then immediately discarding it and reaching for the next one. And by the end, I get good at it, and you can hear a pretty constant rotation of books, and the words become continuous. So I will play for you the recording, and then I will read the transcript a little bit clearer and all together so you can kind of understand it, and then read all of the titles that were involved in it. It's all something like 40 books that I cycle through at a short phrase per book. Taking from the bookshelf, beginning with Naked Lunch, moving as quickly as possible. In moments of excitement, I wrote Stradlatter's composition, Gathered by odds and ends, I robbed the old man. I didn't move, they stopped walking alone down this one hit. Every word a sermon, now then 30. Childbearing, merely married to Sybil Vane. 9 missed meals, inferior, that is, correcting. I'd have to catch up with this science. Tarbrush, I'll teach you. People of the Teleri suddenly sat down. I finally made an appointment. Took off his own shoes and shirt, oh, quite certain, and kissed his masters. I'll see he gets a share. The president of local, the driver steered off the asphalt. Most frighteningly, that summer with the release of being threatened, sense of being threatened. Weariness around the eyes, slipped his knife into the edge of to get you in trouble with your now then back. Quarter deck, I know he, like Dr. Branham had said, I merely repeat. Working, peasants working in the fields, suddenly grew serious. Those who don't build must burn. They were capable of cooking, thanks to Tom Henry. I have heard that nothing gives the author, after his wishes. The tour culminated. Oh, sweet Jesus. The groom simply wouldn't do. Died that December. Drew out longer than the sunset. For a while my back was exposed. So this guy shows up. How did the Hauser working look? How did the worker housing look? Approach those with little or no cover. Naive outsider against the more light-fingered. So we drove back to the hotel. The first type is the little weakling. Make his glance fall on one. She slaying her pups last night. Run out somewhere for butane. He was afraid of strangers' hands in their pockets and immediately polarized. Never seen one. And the squalling fell to the ground, full of pity. Okay, so I'll read this again. In moments of excitement, I wrote Stradlatter's composition, gathered by odds and ends. I robbed the old man. I didn't move. They stopped walking alone down this one hit. Every word a sermon. Now, then 30, childbearing, merely married to Sybil Vane. 9 missed meals, inferior, that is, correcting. I'll have to catch up with the science. Tarbrush, I'll teach you. People of the Teleri suddenly sat down. I finally made an appointment. Took off his own shoes and shirt, oh, quite certain, and kissed his masters. I'll see he gets a share. The prison of local, the driver steered off the asphalt, most frighteningly, that summer with the release. Sense of being threatened, weariness around the eyes, slipped his knife around the edge of to get you in trouble, with your now then back. Quarter deck. I know he, like Dr. Branham had said, I merely repeat. Peasants working in the fields suddenly grew serious. Those who don't build must burn. They were capable of cooking, thanks to Tom Henry. I have heard that nothing gives the author after his wishes. The tour culminated, oh sweet Jesus, the groom simply wouldn't do. Died that December, drawn out long after sunset. For a while my back was exposed, so this guy shows up. How did the worker housing look? Approach those with little or no cover. Naive outsider against the more light-fingered, so we drove back to the hotel. The first type is the little weakling. Make his glance fall on one. She slang her pups last night, run out somewhere for butane. He was afraid of strangers, hands in their pockets, and immediately polarized, never seen one, and the squalling fell to the ground, full of pity. Where are these coming from? I'll read you the authors and the works. Naked Lunch, Don Quixote, The Grapes of Wrath, The Cimmerillion, The Sound and the Fury, To Kill a Mockingbird, Eat, Pray, Love, Fahrenheit 451, The Picture of Dorian Gray, Resistance, The Birth of Venus, Flash Fiction Forward, Music for Chameleons, Invisible Man, Life of Pi, Brave New World, Dwayne's Depressed, A Tale of Two Cities, The Invisible Man, the Wells version, Adventures of Tom Sawyer, The Catcher in the Rye, Beowulf, Animal Farm, A Clockwork Orange, The Third Policeman, Man the Manipulator, Soul on Ice, Last Exit to Brooklyn, To Have and Have Not, The Hobbit, Cradle of Splendor, A Man Without a Country, Bowie, Queer, Hollywood, The Pearl, Travels with Charlie, Of Mice and Men, Heart of Darkness, Crime and Punishment, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Hell's Angels, The Zombie Survival Guide, Diddy Wah Diddy, Hare's Choice, The Norton Anthology of American Literature Volume A, Jane Eyre, From Bauhaus to Our House, Conversations with Tom Petty, Island in the Sun, AC/DC Maximum Rock and Roll, Bob Dylan Chronicles Volume 1, Seabiscuit, and Daisy Miller. I didn't count, but that's a lot of voices, that's a lot of contributors. N. In this case, an unspecified amount. The +1 comes in when I read it aloud. And you understand it, you start to interpret it, and you find that there's a speaker. There's a very distinct speaker and point of view and character being expressed in these seemingly randomly acquired words. If we take the time to break it down and think about it and consider the possibility beyond and to give it time and to give it to care that this happens, and this is a higher, much bigger activity, much more dangerous and revolutionary activity than playing a word game. With all that being said, I'm going to conclude. We'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody. On to the music.